Hey guys, it's Hugh Sweeney here and I'm back today with a video describing to you why I stuck with the S1 instead of getting the S1H. Last April I decided to purchase the S1. It just came at the right time. I had been using the Panasonic GH5 for at least a year and a half, getting close to 2 years. And though I liked the camera and it served me well, I just felt like so many people had the GH5. It was such a common camera and I had used it to death. I just sort of felt like something different. I felt like going full frame. I was never really overly keen on the GH5 for photography, even though it took lovely images. And, you know, using the Metabone speed booster for everything as well, kind of wasn't crazy about that. So the S1 with its new MC21 adapter for all the Canon glass seemed like a very sensible decision. So not long after getting the S1, a couple of months into using it, Panasonic announced that they're coming out with the S1H. Much to the sort of excitement of many people, but a lot of people were left feeling a little bit upset that they had invested heavily in the S1 or the S1R, and now all of a sudden this much bigger, more powerful and more expensive camera totally geared towards video users came out. So then I decided, you know what, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to take a big hit because it's still a brand new camera. I'm going to sell it for like 2/3 what I paid for it, you know, just to get rid of it. And then I just stopped and I said, what is it about the S1 that isn't good enough that I need to get the S1H? So I'm going to go through a few pointers in this video and tell you why I stuck with this bad boy. Okay, firstly, the S1H is an amazing camera. I would love to get my hands on one. It's got amazing features, obviously 6K. It's got far more powerful codecs and record options than the S1, which I'll get to quite soon. It also has, you know, the flippy screen that comes out and faces you, which is sort of aimed at vloggers, and it's not really a vlogger's camera, so that's not something that I'm too worried about. It's got the dual native ISO similar to the GH5S, which apparently this guy can't do, or can it? I'll explain that very, very soon. You know, it's just a more professional video camera, let's be honest. It's much more powerful, but you gotta ask yourself the question, is it worth the upgrade? And why did I not upgrade to it when I was recently given the chance? So first up, we gotta address the actual physicalities of the camera. The S1 is a smaller camera than the S1H. It's slightly more compact, it's not as deep, and it is about, you know, 15 to 20% lighter than the S1H, meaning that on a day-to-day basis when you're doing a lot of handheld shooting, you know, you're holding the camera in your hand, you're doing photography, you might be using it on a gimbal. Just overall, over a period of time, the lighter, more compact camera is a little bit easier. So the added weight of the S1H and the added size is going to be a little bit more difficult over time. It also uses the same battery pack. Now the S1H has obviously much more powerful capabilities, so it's going to dig into that battery power much more aggressively than the S1 will. One of the main reasons I was considering upgrading to the S1H was the fact that the S1H was better than the S1 in low light. Now firstly, I did find that the S1 is far more responsive in low light than the likes of the Canon EOS R. It is a relatively good low light camera. But when I started to push the ISOs up to around 1600, I did start to see unwanted noise, and I sort of found myself keeping it around the 1600 or lower if possible, because the noise was just being elevated a little bit too much, especially in vlog. But I came across a YouTube video which was shared on the Panasonic S1 and S1H and S1R Facebook page. Now the guy in the video, whose name I forget, I'll link the video down below, explained how the ISO noise, as you increase it, just suddenly drops off at 4000. Meaning that as you go up through the ISO levels, 800, 1600, 3200, and then you hit 4000, it actually goes back down to similar noise to what it was at 640. Now I only tried it in vlog, but I was pleasantly surprised. I banged up the ISO to 4000 and I walked down my hallway, which is incredibly dark, and I couldn't believe how good it was in the dark. So therefore there is kind of a dual native ISO thing going on with the S1. Now another reason for keeping the S1 and not upgrading to the S1H is that the S1H still crops at 4K 60 frames per second, which is a very popular format to shoot at, which means that you're going to have to sort of go wider with your lenses. And it'll actually mean that you have to hold on to perhaps one or two of your crop lenses, because if you're limited to sort of those full frame lenses, which very much, they tend to not go any lower than 14 or 16, you're going to want to go to 11 or 10 or even 8 on a crop sensor camera such as this guy. So if the S1H didn't crop at 4K, if it gave you a true 4K full frame at 60 frames per second, it would be another little reason maybe to upgrade to the S1H. Another kind of quirky reason I like the S1 over the S1H is it has two card slots that are different. Now, the S1H has two card slots that are SD cards. This one has an XQD card slot as well as an SD card. And I bought the XQD card, which I kind of like. It's a more robust card, and I actually like putting it in and out of the camera and putting it in and out of the reader more than the little fragile SD cards. It's a bigger, chunkier card and it just feels stronger. And that's another kind of weird reason. Maybe you can't justify the same, but I like it. So of course the S1H has the advantage of being compatible with Atomos RAW in the near future. You probably heard that the S1H will output a RAW signal in due course. So that would be very nice. But having said that, the S1 outputs a lovely 10-bit signal ProRes 422 out to your Atomos Ninja. Now, when do I need a more powerful codec than that? Even as it is, I shoot a lot of commercial jobs with just the internal codec straight to the card. The file sizes are manageable and I don't need to be, eating up hard drive space and creating huge files. It's not necessary in most cases. The S1 is a really good all-round photography and video camera. The S1H is more aimed at video users with its hugely powerful video features. And people are saying, it's still a great photography camera, but let's be honest, if you were out on a photo job and you were shooting photos, you would be just better off with the S1 than the S1H. The battery's probably going to last longer. I can't be exactly sure of that. I don't think the S1H is going to use those heat sinks for photography. So the battery might last the same, but it's a smaller, more compact camera. You're not going to use that flippy screen really for photography. And it's, the screen on this is amazing. I shot with it alongside the Canon EOS R in many cases, and in low light, I gotta say, the S1 is much nicer than the EOS R. The dynamic range and the image and the low light capabilities of the S1 tips the EOS R. The EOS R has a 30 megapixel camera and it probably pips it in terms of resolution, but this is such a sharp, beautiful image. Now, the S1H has the low pass filter, which is seen by many as a good thing, especially in terms of video. I did notice that some of the images, some of the photos I took with the S1, particularly of some clothing patterns, were problematic. They did have very fine moire, very unwanted, not nice, but it only rarely happened. I only actually saw it on one occasion. But there is an argument that the S1 would be better for photography because it doesn't have the low pass filter, and as a result it could possibly be sharper. But we really need to see side-by-side comparisons on that. Really, when I think about it, there was only two things that sort of was pushing me towards getting the S1H. The first being that Panasonic had sort of limited the S1 with the shutter speed options, allowing you only to choose fractions of a second as your shutter, unlike with the S1H where you can use shutter by degree individually with SynchroScan. But it really only affects you when you record indoors at high frame rates, such as what I do, recording at 60 frames per second. But the best way to get around that is to choose a shutter speed of 1/100th of a second, slightly less than twice the actual frame rate, which should let you get away with recording your image without that horrible phasing from the lights. The second thing that really annoys me about the S1, and probably one of the biggest downsides to the camera, is the lack of recording options. It really only gives you a few different variations there of megabits per second, maxing out at 150, unlike the S1H, which will let you do up to 400. Now, in fairness to Panasonic, they did make a video-centric upgrade available for the S1, which added Vlog and other video features such as 10-bit and ProRes out via HDMI. Now, I was under the impression that a high internal bitrate recording would be available, and SynchroScan and shutter by degrees would be available as well, but sadly that wasn't the case. When it comes to my own content, I'm not so worried about it, but with the important jobs for clients and stuff, I do often use the Atomos Ninja anyway, because I want that big screen to nail focus, and it will give me the option to record nice juicy ProRes files. So one of the main reasons I just didn't bother upgrading to the S1H was the fact that I was going to have to sell this with the lens at a price of about 2,500 euros. I would be losing the lens and the camera and have to pay another 1,000 euro. And I was really asking myself, is it worth it? Do I need it? Will my clients see it? Hell no! A lot of us videographers and photographers have this inferiority complex in which we always think we always need the next best camera, and that's what was happening me. I think that the S1 pips the S1H. It's lighter, it's cheaper, the S1H is a lot more money. You really gotta ask yourself, do I need this? The answer, if you're being truthfully honest to yourself, is probably not. I find that this camera serves me really well, and I'm glad that I didn't upgrade to the S1H. Will I upgrade in the near future to the S1H? I may do, because I just love cameras and I love the excitement of getting a new camera and seeing its new features and all that. So maybe in due course. But I gotta say, the Canon EOS R is a brilliant camera as well. That's the one I choose to use for these videos. I shot some commercial stuff lately with the Canon EOS R on a slider, and I used the S1 for handheld stuff, and both of them worked really well. I do think that the S1 is a more powerful video camera to the EOS R, but the EOS R has a lovely image, and it also does autofocus brilliantly. I've just upgraded to the new firmware now, and I'm just trusting it that it's focusing on my eyes. I just literally walked back here, didn't do any tests, and I'm assuming that this is perfect focus throughout the video, something that you cannot do with the S1 and something that you cannot do with the S1H. So all these cameras have different capabilities, and just bear that in mind. And I'm sticking with the S1, I'm sticking with the Canon EOS R. I've got the Atomos Ninja there as well if I want to get a powerful codec recorded out there and to be able to see what's in focus and stuff. And you know, I've got more than enough. So for now, that's all. I'm sticking with this bad boy. I'm even using this kit lens for a lot of jobs. I'm not even bothering using other lenses that have wider apertures. It does the job just fine. Thanks for watching, folks. And until the next video, please do subscribe to me here. Hugh Sweeney is my name. I'm a full-time videographer working out of the west of Ireland here. And drop me a note, check out my website as well, hughsweeney.tv. It's due an upgrade. Check me out on Facebook and on Instagram. I'll put the links down below here. So that's all from me for now, and until next time, it's over and out, and I will chat to you guys very soon.